Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is all about the new adult duology of Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares. And I can't hold these two books up because they're pretty thick, so I'm just gonna put these down. But I was recommended these books because they're new adult, and I don't see a lot of new adult fantasy, like pure fantasy. This is not set in a modern time with like a little bit of fantasy magic-y thing on the side. No, this is a whole new world, and I'm gonna pronounce her first name wrong even though I looked it up. Laini Taylor. Miss Taylor created a really interesting world, and all of this is about Laszlo, and I pronounce her name sorry because it looks like how it's read, but I don't know if that's how you pronounce sorry for this particular person because it's a name. It's a dual point of view with Laszlo and Sorry. And Laszlo is the main character, but then he comes in Sorry when he travels to the strange city of Weep to try and save it. And it's an interesting concept because it's set up that he's like the expert of Weep, and he's always been obsessed with this strange, unknown land far, far away. It takes 6 months to travel there. They pretty much skip over that 6 months, but we see a little bit on that trek, and we get to know the people that are from the city of Weep that have come 6 months to another city to not really beg, but ask very politely for strangers to come and help them and Weep, and they won't tell you why. And I thought it was very interesting when we get to Weep. I'm actually very interested in the city life. I always like learning about like the lives of people and what their daily lives are. I don't know, I find that fascinating. I think that's probably why I like history. But they didn't really touch on it too much, which I think might have helped a little more of getting into Weep and its people, because you only see a few natives of Weep, and it really all comes down by the end. Well, not really the end, like near the end, where we learn that there are people with godlike powers. They're not no, well, see, it gets kind of complicated in the second book, and I don't know if it should be that complicated. They're kind of godlike. You could technically say that they're gods because they have powers and they like seem to live for a really long time. And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but that's okay because this is fantasy. Miss Athrium. That R is getting to me, and that word. And it's in the city of Weep, we see that these gods, the Misanthrem, have taken over, or did take over Weep. And one of the citizens of Weep, my favorite character actually, Errol Fane, was taken up to the metal angel that's in the middle of Weep. It sounds strange, but you know, it's fantasy, it's okay. And this one goddess was just using him for things that are very inappropriate. And he finally snaps and he kills all the gods but 5 little kids. And that's where you come in with Sorry, because she is one of the 5 kids that are now in their teens, and they're just up there barely surviving. And then, you know, Laszlo and his team comes around and Weep, and they're trying to see what's going on with this huge angel blue metal thing in the middle of Weep, and the citizens of Weep want to get rid of it. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept. I gave both of these books 3 out of 5 stars. because here's one plot hole that I have. It's because this blue metal angel is it's a ship as well. Like, whoever can, they call it smiths, whoever can control this blue metal can make it fly. And there's other ships like this. Well, my question is, we know that these gods brought up Errolfane and other members of the city of Weep, but how did Errolfane get back down after he killed all those people? That's what I would like to know, because it's never mentioned how they brought him back down. Did he, like, hold one of them hostage? No, they didn't hold any of them hostage for him to come back down after he killed all of them, because he killed all of them, including the children. So this is my question. That's a big plot hole for me, and that kind of ruined, honestly, I'm sorry, it honestly ruined the duology, because by the end of Strange the Dreamer, spoiler alert, Sorry falls to her death from the top of the angel. She becomes a ghost, and that's pretty much what's, going on in Muse of Nightmares. But then they go back up to the angel, and the other 4 teenagers, don't die, like, they don't fall, because they're in a good spot where they didn't slide off the angel like Sorry did. But there are other times where Laszlo, the citizens of Weep that go up with Laszlo, and the godlike teenagers go back and forth, and there's only some instances where they have this flying contraption that they can go back and forth, and then Laszlo, spoiler alert, is godlike too, and he can control this metal, so it's easy-ish for him to go up and down. But for the people that don't have any power, like, how are they going up and down? That's what I was confused at, and it is not mentioned. I looked really hard. I went back to different chapters, and I said, okay, so is it talked about how Errolfane goes back down and he's living his life on ground? No. The whole plot is based on Sorry falling and dying to her death for the 2nd book, and now she's a ghost. Why, like, that is a plot device, and you're forgetting about everything else, all the other people on that angel that didn't fall. And they can, like, they seem, the people Weep and all that stuff can seem to go back and forth. It's more like a small group of people that are trying to do what's good for their city. So they go back and forth with this huge angel. And I was just a bit confused. I feel like that's a plot bunny. And I asked on Twitter, does anyone know about, like, this, an answer to this question? I got nothing. No one said anything. And I know people have read this duology because I see it on Goodreads, and a lot of them gave these, like, books 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 stars, and is this, like, because it's fantasy that we're kind of just going with how Errolfane magically got back down on the earth, and then they can go back and forth, but oh yeah, Sorry, who's godlike, just happens to slide off the angel when it's tipping over at the end of the 1st book, and boom, she's dead. And now she's a ghost, and that's, like, the whole part of the 2nd book, and then everything else is fine. No one else falls to their death, and they can go back and forth. I don't know. That was a huge problem for me, if you couldn't tell already, because I have ranted about this for at least 5 minutes. The other problem with this is that I didn't really feel the connection with Laszlo and Sorry. They're a couple, basically in the second novel, and they, you know, do a little hanky-panky in the first. I didn't feel a connection there. The only interesting character for me was Errol Fane, and I think that's because he, like, slaughtered all these gods and goddesses, including the kids, and that's a really dark and hard choice that you have to make for you and your citizens, but he made it, and I think that's really interesting psychologically. And I did enjoy the world building, and the worlds are very fascinating, but I think at the end of the second book, it got a little bit too much when the author brought in a lot of different universes to help understand how these godlike people exist. And I don't know if you needed to say there's different dimensions and universes and they fly in and out of them, and I don't... That's an interesting choice to make. I didn't see it coming, so that was shocking. But after reading the book and settling on it, on the 3 stars, I thought maybe that wasn't necessary. I don't know. On the fence about that. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong. That doesn't mean that it's bad. I just don't know if maybe something else could have been written in to make it more fleshed out and have the ending of Muse of Nightmares be a little bit more organized, I guess. I didn't feel like this was very organized. I felt like it was a little rushed. Like, you could have made a 3rd book, I think. But if this is a duology and it was only 2 books, you can't write a 3rd book, then I get why it was a little rushed at the end. And also, I did not really like, everyone knows about this, the huge chunks of inner dialogue with no... not, I guess physical. What would you say if you're speaking out loud? I don't know. I'm going to say physical dialogue. With no physical dialogue with other people around. It's just like people, well, namely Laszlo and Sari, and their respective chapters, just thinking a lot. A lot. And I'm going, okay, so when does the action happen, I guess? Because I can only do like 4 pages of inner dialogue, and then I'm just thinking, okay, what's going on? But all of the ranting aside, I did enjoy this duology. I appreciate that the sexual assault was up front and it was talked about, and there was also empathy and forgiveness in there on the citizens of Weep and for the godlike teenagers up in that angel. That was refreshing, because usually you're not... Some people just mention sexual assault and just completely forget about it for the rest of the books or book, or they romanticize it and it's, or they completely ignore it. Whereas in this duology, we're talking about these gods and this blue metal angel are taking humans from Weep and bringing them up to the angel and assaulting them. And the women are given birth to these half-gods, and then this goddess wipes clean of their memory, and these women are brought back down, and they don't have any memory of what happened of that year up in that angel, except that you can tell that they've given birth, but they don't know what happened. Like, you just look down and you see that you've given birth, and that's very traumatic. And I think that was very much so written in a respectful way. Because you see, like, I guess more in historical fiction, fantasy, historical romance, where you're forced to marry a man and you have to have, marital relations. And don't like it in the beginning, but then like they fall in love and it's totally fine. That's glossed over. Or the ones that they don't like their husband, they don't want to have anything to do with them, they're trying to poison them because their husband's abusive, but they still have to have marital relations. We don't talk about how that is assault. It is assault, but I haven't seen it really spoken about in the historical romance, especially. So I appreciate that this duology talked about that it is assault, and it's I wouldn't say plot point, but it's part of the plot and it's important to the plot. It's not romanticized. So yes, I gave these 2 books 3 out of 5 stars. It's a high 3, and I do recommend it for people that are interested in new adult fantasy, because I don't know that many new adult fantasy books that are like traditionally published. Thank you so much for watching my book review. If you like what you saw, please comment, like, subscribe, and if you wanted to get to know me or anything else about yours truly, all that is in the description below. Thank you so much and have a great reading day. Bye!